Hey guys, we're moving on. So some of this stuff is review of some things that we've done in the past. Um, so you might remember some of this, okay? But we're getting towards the end of the year, so we hit a lot of our stuff already, okay? So some of this stuff you have already hit, okay? Hey, we have some radical things that we're trying to add. Now remember, guys, anytime we're trying to add things, remember the radicals, which we had kind of talked about, these are like the variables. So like if you had an x, you can only add to another x. So if it was like 2x and 3x, I can add that and get 5x. But if it was 2x and 3y, I couldn't add those. I'd have to leave them alone. So right now, these could not add. I'm trying to add, because that's a 4a and that's a 9a in the radical. But 4 and 9 are perfect squares, right? So remember, if they're a perfect square, they can come outside the radical. So what I have here is 1/12 times, now I can bring that radical 4 out. Square root of 4 is a 2. Now I can think of that as 2 over 1. Now that a has to stay inside. I mean, that's not a perfect square. So that 4 comes out as a 2. Now I'm going to simplify this, but let's keep going over here. Now very similar, square root of 9 we know is a 3. And again, I can think of that as 3 over 1. And I have the radical a. Now I can put these together by canceling. So the 2 cancels into the 12, leaves a 6. So what I have is 1/6. Now I still have that radical a plus, now again, 3 can cancel into the 12, leave a 4. So what's left here is 1/4. Okay, radical a. Okay, and then from here, I now am trying to add these. Now remember, if I'm trying to add these, I got to create a common denominator. So remember, I need a common denominator for 6 and 4. Now remember, 6 and 4 goes up to 24, but 6 and 4 can both go up to 12, which is lower. I mean, if you go all the way up to 24, you're going to have to reduce. But 6 and 4 can both go up to 12. See that? They can both go up to 12. Now 6, remember how we do this. 6 goes up to 12 times 2. Remember, we were doing this before. So 1 times 2, that's 2/12. 4 goes up to 12 by 3. So 1 times 3, 3. And actually, one more, now that we have a common denominator, we can add the numerator. So 2/12 plus 3/12 is 5/12 with the radical a. And that's the answer. Boom. Okay, so again, I mean, you're using a lot of those rules that we've already used, okay? So just a little reminder there of the rules that we're going to use, okay? Okay, let's do another one. Pretty similar, just more negatives, that's all. Okay, we're just going to throw in some negatives. So I got a negative 1/20 with a radical 25y minus 1/20 radical 100y. Okay, now very similar to the other one. Now again, remember this negative is on the 120 times, okay, square root of 25 is 5. But again, I want to think of that as 5 over 1. And then I got the y. I mean, so a lot of these steps are similar to what's over here, just some signs change and numbers change. Okay, now remember that's minus 1 over 20 times, okay, square root of 100 is 10, right? But again, think of that as 10 over 1, and then that radical y has to stay inside. Okay, just like we did before, 5 goes into 20 4 times. Now again, that negative has to stay, so negative 1/4 y minus, okay, 10 goes into 22 times, so negative 1/2 radical y. Okay, now again, I cannot, now these are being combined. Now, because they're both negative, they're actually going to add, but remember, I can't add if they don't have the same denominator, so I got to create that common denominator. Okay? So let's just kind of get that set up. Okay, so 4 and 2. Now, guys, remember back in middle school, probably when you did fractions, if the smaller number can actually go up to that bigger number, I'm actually going to use that bigger number as my common denominator. So 4, 2 can go up to 4, so I'm actually going to use 4 as my common denominator. Okay, now because the 4 stayed 4, that's just going to stay a 1. Now 2 had to go up to a 4 times 2, so then 1 has to go times 2, so that's 2 fourths. 1/2 is the same as 2 fourths. Okay, now that I have a common denominator, both have a 4 on the bottom, I can add their numerators because they're both negatives. A negative minus, or a negative, or you're in the negative, you're going farther down the negative. I know the way this looks maybe is a little confusing, but a negative, and that's really a negative, they're going to actually add. So negative 3/4 radical y. Boom. That's the answer. Okay. So negative 3/4 radical y is the answer. Okay. So again, kind of a review of some things that we have already done. I just wanted to hit this again before we move on. So again, just one of these for your homework problem. Okay, and I know this is going to be hard to enter into the journal. Just do your best to type in what you get. Okay, and there's your problem. Okay, very similar to the one we just did, a couple we just did. Okay, we'll see you next time. Bye.